In this video, I'm going to cover how much my husband and I spent in our first month of full-time van life. I do want to preface that every month is different, so that will depend on how far we travel, how much diesel is, if we do any extra activities, or if we're just extra hungry that month. I did also want to add that this is in AUD and for 2 adults, and just to note that we do travel pretty quickly and only stay in places maybe 1 to 2 nights. First up is groceries. So for the whole month, we spent $621, which is around $155 per week. But I did think this would be a little bit lower considering that we did have takeaway this month. Which leads me on to takeaway. We spent $216 for the month, which is about $54 per week. I guess not too bad considering that $54 for 2 people probably only gets you 1 breakfast or 1 lunch. So in total, all of the food that we had for the month was $837 or about $209 per week. Now onto the food and drink that the van needs, diesel. We didn't keep track of the exact Ks that we did, but we did roughly go from Mackay to Cairns, and that's stopping everywhere in between at different waterfalls and different attractions. We went to Atherton, Tablelands, and a whole range of different places. The fuel came to $606, so about $151 per week. Now our Mercedes Sprinter uses about 12 litres per 100 Ks, so that's pretty reasonable considering that when the water tanks and fuel tank is full, she's sitting about 4 tonnes. Next up is accommodation, and this is where you'll see the biggest saving compared to living in a house. We try and stay in designated free camp areas or rest areas, or if we are going to pay for a camp, we look for a cheap camp. We really do avoid caravan parks because that's where the price just skyrockets. Wiki Camps is probably the best place to find all of those free and cheap camps. Basically, I just go through the area that I'm looking to go to next and heart anything that looks reasonable, you know, has pretty good stars and good reviews. Not really interested in a free camp with 1 star and some pretty dodgy reviews. So for the whole month of accommodation, we spent $91, which is around $22 a week. So pretty stoked with that one. Next up is shopping and pretty much anything miscellaneous. So basically anything that we buy that isn't food. Now living in a van makes this pretty easy because we can't just like stumble into Kmart and come home with all this home decor and bits and pieces for the living room because, well, we don't have any space. So this came to $169, which is around $42 a week. Now one thing that we can't eat and isn't in the shopping and miscellaneous list is our mobile phone costs. Now this was an unusual month for us. It was $120 for the whole month, which is about $30 a week. We're both with Aldi, but at this point we were planning to head across the top, which the coverage isn't very good for Aldi. It's only really good in major cities. So Julius decided that he was going to go with Telstra or get a SIM that had a full, utilize the full Telstra network. So he decided to go with Boost because it is a little bit cheaper than Telstra. So although he had already paid $25 for Aldi earlier the month, he ended up having to pay $50 to change over to Boost. And now things have changed since then as well because we now have Starlink, and although our mobile phone plans have decreased, Starlink's not very cheap. Next up is laundry, and if I could fit a washing machine in this van, I would. Not that laundry mats are outrageously expensive, but just convenience wise. So for the laundry mats, it was about $38 a month, so $9.50 a week. Next up is the not so fun expense, just like laundry, but this is health and car insurance. It was about $217 for the month, which is around $54 per week. On to the next thing, which is subscriptions. Now we only had one subscription, which is $10.99 for Netflix. We have since cancelled that because we really weren't using it, and you know, we got YouTube, but we have since filled it with other subscriptions. So if you do want me to do another video on a different month, just let me know down below. So at this point, I was thinking we're doing pretty good. You know, could be better, but also could be a lot worse. So our total for all of that ended up being $2,089 until we broke down. So last but certainly not least, pun intended, was the van maintenance. We have a whole video on that breakdown experience, so I'll link it up here and also down below. But long story short, we ended up having to get a new auxiliary water pump, which being Mercedes, there wasn't really any third-party parts, so we had to go directly through Mercedes, and it was $650 for a tiny plastic water pump. We also needed to pay for Rego that month and get 2 new tyres, which we realised were kind of flaking and breaking apart, which was not good. So all of that ended up being $1,909 or around $477 per week. So overall the total was $3,998, so basically $4,000 for the whole month. Is this what you expected? Comment down below and let me know. But anyway, even though our van maintenance cost was pretty much half of the amount of the whole spend for the month, It is just a part of the journey. When your house moves and does many hundreds and even thousands of kilometers, it's gonna happen. It is kind of what you sign up for, even if, you know, no one really talks about this. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.